Okay, welcome everybody. I'm John Sheedy. Excited to be here with the CINE Sonora panel. We're honored to have 6 of our special guests here, of our talented filmmakers from Sonora. And we're gonna open it up to questions and discussion here in a minute. But I would like to start out with introductions from each person. So we'll start with myself. Again, I'm John Sheedy. I work as a filmmaking teacher, and I have a background in film. I've also been running as co-director of the Arizona International Film Festival. So 10 years with the Alamos International Film Festival in Sonora. So I had the great honor of being able to meet many Sonoran filmmakers during my 10 years with the festival in Alamos. And this is my first year with the Arizona International Film Festival as on the board of directors and screening committee for documentaries. So last night we had a fabulous showing with CINE Sonora at the Machado Annex here in Tucson. It was really beautiful outside, a bit windy, but everybody really enjoyed the films. And I guess I'll pass it to you, Samantha, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and you guys can introduce yourselves in English or Spanish. Just give me a pause so I can translate as needed.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I can do it in English. Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha. I'm the director of the short film Esmeralda. Currently I'm studying biomedical engineering. This doesn't have anything to do with filmmaking, but yeah, filmmaking is something that I really like. And this is my first short film, so I'm really happy that it's going to festivals. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Samantha, could you tell us where you're studying? Where are you living right now?
I'm studying in the Netherlands in a small town called Enschede.
Yeah. Okay. Denisse, can we drop down and introduce you now?
Yeah, sure. My name is Denisse Duron. I'm the producer of the short film The Task, and we've been there last night. Mm-hmm. Tucson at the festival, and it was great. A lot of cold and wind, but the show was perfect. The projection was very cute, and all the works are terrific. Thank you for the invitation.
Fantastic, of course. Carmen, Coronado, gusto verte.
Hi everyone, my English is poor, but I want to try. I'm Read the Rings Poets director, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation too.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay, Santiago.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Santiago Manriquez. I'm the director of El Pozo, The Well. I come from a background as a social worker, and I studied philosophy at ASU. And I'm happy to see everybody here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, Francisco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco Machado. I'm co-director and producer of the short film Esmeralda. I work together with Samantha, of course. And yes, we, with Santiago and Denisse, and Fernanda, por supuesto, we were yesterday at the Mercado Annex with a very beautiful setting and very beautiful projection. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And
hey,
Fernanda is our lovely host.
Hi, my name is Fernanda Galindo. I am a director of the We Are Small, fiction short film. And I am really happy to be here. And yesterday was an incredible projection, sharing with the people and with my colleagues and other filmmakers from Sonora. I am really proud of your work, and I'm happy to be here to have this conversation, this important conversation. Quiero que empiece si piensan, hacemos la conversación en español, no sé qué pienses, o en inglés.
Sí, en español.
Como es mejor para todos, hablamos español y si necesita traducir algo tú.
Pues, y después cada ratito como puedes
pausar hacer una pausa, ¿no?
Sí.
Okay. Sí, ¿no? Para que estén más cómodos.
Muy bien.
Pero bueno, el objetivo de esta mesa es compartir un poco de nuestra experiencia como filmmakers, como cineastas, y hablar un poco de cómo podríamos colaborar, cómo podríamos tender puentes con nuestra región vecina, Arizona, para contar historias.
So the objective of this panel is for us to have a chance to talk about how we can collaborate as filmmakers and how we can unify between Arizona and Sonora.
So, tenemos algunas preguntas o algunos temas que cada uno planteó de manera personal, y voy a empezar por una que creo que sería muy interesante que varios de nosotros intentáramos reflexionar sobre eso, ¿no? Que es...
So just to mention that some of the filmmakers shared some of their reflections and questions, and so we'll start with them.
Y es como una cuestión que planteó Francisco, ¿no? Que tiene que ver con cómo se pueden establecer lazos para difundir nuestros trabajos de cine independiente entre Sonora y Arizona, ¿no? Obviamente, este festival y esta curaduría que hizo John es uno de esos lazos, ¿no? Que ya inició. Entonces, me gustaría si pueden aportar algo de cómo piensan que podemos establecer puentes o lazos para, tanto en Sonora como en Arizona, poder tener estas colaboraciones para difundir y también producir nuestros trabajos, ¿no? O historias en común.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, how can we find ways to share our common stories? How can we find ways to have support for filmmakers between Arizona and Sonora? And so we're starting with this conversation.
Si quieren inicio, digo, yo planteo un poquito ahí la pregunta, ¿no?
Sí,
O el
claro.
tema. Y sí, creo que a veces vemos como a Estados Unidos en general, y pues en este caso Arizona tal vez como muy lejano, ¿no? Por toda la industria que se tiene en Estados Unidos, sin duda, pero pues no es así, ¿verdad? Necesariamente, o sea, puede ser algo también muy cercano con muchos creadores de muchos ámbitos, y entonces creo que puede ser algo muy, muy benéfico. Estamos muy cerca, ¿no? A veces en Sonora, pues, está muchísimo más lejos la Ciudad de México que Phoenix o que Tucson o Guadalajara, pues, por decirlo. Entonces, si es de tener que como relacionarse con otras personas o con otros grupos, pues Arizona y Tucson, Phoenix pueden ser una muy buena opción. Y sí, en la difusión, pues son historias muy cercanas. Siempre me ha tocado que gente pregunta estas cuestiones de la frontera, ¿no? Sí, cómo es el muro, cómo es esa división. Pero realmente sabemos los que vivimos acá que es algo muy interconectado. Entonces, así vivimos. Pues también es una realidad a contar.
Sí, ok. Una pequeña pausa para que pueda traducir,
Okay,
John.
so I don't think I can translate all of that, but he's really talking about something interesting here, that for folks in Sonora, that they really feel like they're closer to Arizona, for example, than going to Mexico City, that there's closer opportunities for relationships between Sonora and Phoenix, Sonora and Sedona, Sonora and Tucson, and that we need to find those relationships. So that's a brief summary.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Santiago, ¿tú qué piensas? What do you think about you live in Phoenix, right?
Yeah. I split my time between Phoenix and Arizona. I grew up in Mexico, in Sonora, in Hermosillo. Yeah. My roots are there. And the other half of my life has been in Arizona as well. So yes, it's been a life between the two states and between two cultures.
Yeah, what do you think about this question about to have a bridge between these two places? Really close?
I think the space that John opened, it's a very nice step towards building that relationship. I don't think there's such a thing as a border between culture or for culture. Especially, I think we can see that very clearly between Arizona and Sonora, with these two states are so closely interlinked in their history, in their peoples. And you don't have to go very far into Arizona You can go into Arizona and see a lot of, Mexican influence, Hispanic influence, and not only that one, but like there's a whole mixture, right, of cultures in Arizona. And I think that's a really good example of how just this integration just takes place naturally, right? And I think as long as there's like an open dialogue, like a space where people can have these conversations like we're having right now, like the opportunity we had on the festival, it starts like joining, it starts like making this bridge stronger. Because I strongly believe that this bridge is already there. And I think just making it stronger and making a focus on that cultural link between all of us, I think really helps towards doing that. It's like just having the opportunity to talk with fellow filmmakers and so that we can get to know each other, and not only from Sonora, but also like the ones from Arizona and the whole like Arizona film community as well. It's really helpful because I feel like we're constantly feeding off each other. We're constantly learning from each other. And like all my fellow filmmakers are also like an inspiration for like my own personal work. And I'm always looking for what I can learn. And I find it very important to keep my eyes, my ears open to all these new ideas.
Yes, thank you, Santiago. Y Carmen, tu cortometraje pues es incluso, bueno, es una historia muy, muy interesante, ¿no? Porque recuperas la historia de una mujer boxeadora que tuvo que luchar contra pues todo el sistema, ¿no? que contra todo este mundo, universo masculino, ¿no? Al que pertenecía el universo de la lucha. Y tú filmaste este cortometraje en inglés, incluso, ¿no? Entonces, cuéntanos un poco acerca de eso, ¿no? Cómo a mí especialmente me sorprendió, ¿no? O sea, no esperaba que fueras a abordar el tema de esa forma, pareció muy interesante. Y pues, ¿cómo relacionas esto con esto que estamos hablando? ¿Cómo relacionas tu trabajo con estos puentes, ¿no? Que se pueden crear a través de las historias en común?
So Carmen is going to speak a little bit about her film, which is a story based on a true story of a female boxer, and it's a very important story of what I believe it was in the early 1980s with this important fight that she had in Las Vegas, and just what she was up against, not just in this fight, but in the boxing world at that time, being the first woman who wanted to be in the ring with the man, with the machismo that she faced, and again, we're seeing that this is a story that's back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. That there's also English in the film, and so it's kind of this theme that we have this common theme going here. Carmen, ¿puedes contestar?
Pues fíjate que la primera pregunta es que a veces uno hace cosas de forma inconsciente, pero las trae, ¿no? Es decir, no me imagino ahora 2 años después pensando por qué hice esto en inglés y en español, y supongo que la única cosa fiel que pude haber hecho con respecto a toda la imposibilidad que tenía esta mujer era justo el lenguaje, ir a un lugar desconocido, ir a un mundo masculino. Por eso me parecía importante que fuera un migitorio y no una taza de baño normal, ¿no? La primera imagen es una taza de baño para hombres. Entonces, creo que el lenguaje cinematográfico te pide cosas y tú inconscientemente a veces las das, o a veces conscientemente, ¿no? Que es mejor consciente, pero a veces uno hace lo que tiene que hacer y punto. Y con respecto a justo el enlace Estados Unidos, México y no solo eso, sino con todo el mundo, cómo nos interrelacionamos los países, me parece que de alguna manera se está haciendo a fuerza, es decir, la globalización nos está rebasando incluso, entonces se está haciendo, y festivales como este donde se presentan espacios para Sonora, o festivales como el Cine del Desierto, que ahorita Fernanda creo que es la directora general, que supongo que va a jalar cortometrajes gringos, pues empieza a ser una especie de sinergia, ¿no? Donde todo el mundo está participando e intercambiándose trabajos, porque nos interesa a nosotros como artistas independientes mostrar, primero que se muestre, que tenga espectadores, que para eso se hace cine, y finalmente que podamos colaborar entre nosotros, ¿no? Yo ya conozco el trabajo de Denisse, a pesar de que Denisse no sepa quién soy yo, ni me explico.
Claro que sí.
porque Instagram, Facebook, todas las aplicaciones pues nos llevan a conocernos, ¿no? Y me parece fabuloso.
Podemos hacer una pequeña pausa para la traducción. Gracias.
Yeah, I don't think I can translate all of that, but it started out very interesting with referring to this boxer's challenge that she was up against with not just the fight, but in the machismo, but also coming to the United States for this big fight and having the language barriers and the cultural barriers. And also even in one of the first scenes, you notice that she's it's not a regular bathroom for women. It's a boys' bathroom. It's a guy's bathroom with urinals, and it just feels awkward. You realize that she's so out of place, but she's fearless, taking on, I think Carmen said, the impossible. And then where did Carmen go from there? Then went on to just mention about this crossing borders, and I think bringing back, maybe tying into what the other filmmaker said a second ago, just having that we need the space to tell stories. And we have Facebook and we have Instagram and everything, where everything is becoming so universal anyway.
Yes. Y ahora me gustaría ir un poco con Samantha y Francisco. Bueno, Samantha sobre todo, Francisco ya nos comparte un poquito, ¿no? Pero Samantha, tú de hecho ahora estás viviendo en un país extranjero, ¿no? Estás viviendo en otro lugar, eres sonorense y para mí lo que me pareció muy interesante de tu trabajo es que retratas una historia que es una leyenda urbana, ¿no? Entonces, que nos hables un poco de eso. Yo, a mí en particular, vengo aquí, por ejemplo, a Arizona y veo muchísimas historias que podrían ser contadas a través del cine, como estas pequeñas leyendas, ¿no? Y para mí tu trabajo es muy importante porque recuperas y reelaboras una historia urbana de una manera poética y muy bella, ¿no? Entonces, pues que nos hables acerca de eso, ¿no? De la importancia de estas pequeñas historias, de reelaborarlas a través del cine documental, para que inspire quizás a otros cineastas norteamericanos en Arizona, ¿no? Para que recuperen ese conocimiento y esa experiencia urbana, ¿no? Que tenemos en el transitar por la ciudad cada día.
So really, Samantha's story is like an urban legend. It comes from the 90s, and the name of their film for Francisco and Samantha is Esmeralda, and it's really a tragic and beautiful story at the same time. That I confess that when I was on a field trip with my school in the 1990s in Hermosillo, I heard about this story. It's just briefly, it's a man who falls in love with a mannequin in the window of this wedding store. And so I was quite surprised when I saw this and remembered the story. And it is an urban legend, and the fact that you're bringing life back to it is something really special. So Samantha, if you want to start talking about that first, and then
maybe in English, and it's better.
Sure.
I don't know.
Then I don't have to stop you.
Whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. First, thank you very much for your comments. And yeah, I actually didn't know about the story of the Eterno Enamorado until 2016, and then I realized that it was in its time it was a really famous history and legend of our city, and then I start noticing like these small clues around the city, like these murals or pictures in the businesses of Hermosillo. And then I was wondering, okay, the story of this man impacted our city, the story of our city that much that he became someone. And in my personal point of view, I wanted to know why. That's why I decided to tell that story. And then I also realized that, because of how it impacted the city, it also became part of it. So that's why I think it's really important to keep or to tell these stories, because they are part of our culture in some way. If you put in Google, you can find some corridos or songs of El Eterno Enamorado, and What else? But yes, I think yes, basically that is just for the new generation. I decided also to tell this story because most of the new generation doesn't know it. So yes, it's also to not forget what it happened, and don't forget who we are, where we are from. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Samantha. And Denisse, are you there?
Hola. Aquí estamos.
Say anything?
Yeah, it's true. If Francisco, you want to add something about this?
Francisco.
Not solo just like this kind of events, like the screening yesterday is a very good step forward to connect more between the states and knowing each other more, of course.
Great, thank you.
Francisco also worked on a documentary of a story of a toy store that was very famous in Hermosillo, and so I think that you guys are really saving and preserving these important stories of these legacies, of these legends in your communities.
Thank you.
So, thank you. And Denisse, tú y Daniel, bueno, cuentan una historia también que más allá de ser no es el caso de una leyenda urbana, pero es el caso de una mujer que para mí refleja muchísimo un modo de vida que tiene que ver con el pasado, ¿no? O sea, como, no sé, a mí me recordó mucho a mi abuela, por ejemplo, ¿no? No solamente en cuanto al escenario, a esta casa maravillosa, antigua, sino también como que refleja, pues para mí lo que significó más su trabajo es este cambio entre ese pasado y... ¿estás ahí, Denisse?
I think we maybe lost her. Denisse is on a road.
Oh my
so
God.
Se había cortado un poquito, pero ya. Sí, ya.
Okay.
Sí, ya regresamos. Sí,
Okay,
ya regresé.
perfecto.
Pero bueno, lo que preguntabas, ¿no?
Tú dime,
Sobre la
dime.
película, la historia.
Ajá, entonces pienso que es muy importante su película porque habla de ese cambio en la cultura que estamos teniendo, de algo tan personal como que el señor que te lleva el periódico hable contigo unos momentos, una mujer solitaria, que antes el mundo era así, ¿no? Y bueno, ahora qué podemos decir después de la pandemia con todo este distanciamiento, pues cómo una mujer de otra generación lo vive, ¿no? Esta ruptura, ¿no? Que significa para ella, no sé, para mí es la muerte de un tiempo y la llegada de otro que todavía nos estamos intentando explicar, ¿no? Entonces, pues, si nos pueden comentar un poco también cómo es que surge esta idea de eso y cómo ustedes como productores de Sonora imaginan que pueda haber una relación con Arizona, si es que han tenido ya algún acercamiento a filmar en Arizona, un poco una doble pregunta, un poquito de su trabajo.
Sí, claro.
So we've got a double question for Denisse here. First, reflecting on their film that they did together. I assume that her partner is driving right now. So
Yes.
Denisse has the question, but it's the Quehaceres or chores, which is an older lady who lives in a beautiful home, in a relationship, getting her newspaper from somebody every day, and really seeing this different lifestyle that maybe is changing, and especially like Fernanda mentioned is changed after the pandemic. Something that I noticed watching this, just her living in this solitary state by herself and going through these routines, I thought that maybe this is a lifestyle that some of the older generation is experiencing every day. And at least I took away from it that maybe all of us experienced it for a short time during the pandemic. And then the double part of the question was just the relationship of having this space between Arizona and Sonora. We'll see if we keep our connection with Denisse.
Yes.
Que perdimos la conexión otra vez.
Creo que están atravesando una zona complicada, quizás. Bueno, están por ahí. Vamos a esperar un ratito a ver si...
Sí, no sé si me escuchan.
Sí,
Hola,
ahora sí.
de nuevo. ¿Sí?
Listo. Yes. Thank you.
Aquí estamos, ok. Bueno, voy a tratar de ser rápido, ¿no? Para que no se me corte la llamada.
Sí.
Pero bueno, la historia de los Quehaceres
So she was going to try and talk fast.
nació hace 10 años, o dentro del marco
Oops, just getting pieces of this. It's a story she started or was interested in starting 10 years ago.
Oh my God. Se
Oh,
cortó. No, creo que está viendo mucha... Quizás están atravesando una zona sin internet.
okay, we might have to come back to Denisse. We're going through a zone
Yeah.
with poor
Entonces la tarea era hacer una historia de un es que yo sí los veo, pero como que yo...
Sí, es que te perdemos.
¿Sí?
Se corta
okay,
cada momentito.
Okay.
Está fallando el internet, me parece. A ver, si quieres.
Sí, si quieres, pues pasas a otra y voy a tratar de pararme, ya casi estamos llegando a Nogales.
Ah,
y si quieres, continúa y ahorita...
me parece muy bien.
¿sí?
Me parece muy bien. Sí. Suerte.
Gracias.
Ok, entonces, bueno, me gustaría ahora como intentar nosotros como cineastas, como personas que somos de Sonora, que conocemos nuestro entorno o nos interesamos, ¿no? en estas historias locales, ¿ustedes cómo pensarían que podría fomentarse el interés de cineastas y realizadores de Arizona para que vengan a nuestro estado a compartir con nosotros o a contar historias acá, ¿no? O sea, porque de la misma manera en que nosotros nos podemos interesar por las historias bilaterales, ¿no? Pues hay muchos mexicanos, hay muchos sonorenses en Arizona y esas historias personalmente creo que no se están contando. Hay muchísimas, ¿no? Entonces, ¿ustedes cómo piensan o qué les dirían a los realizadores de Arizona sobre nuestras historias, sobre nuestro estado, que pudiera generar un interés, ¿no? Para colaborar?
Okay, so we're going to find out how these guys can interest Arizona filmmakers to come to Sonora and how they can share their stories from Sonora and start to collaborate.
Santiago.
Yeah, I think for creating a film, I mean, you need a community to create a film, and not just like a film community, but a community also around that film community, right? So I think that process of strengthening and building communities is really helpful. And in a very basic terms, but like film is about the human connection, right? With the story, with the herd, with the storyteller, and with the audience. So one of the first things that I would encourage to like independent like filmmakers in Arizona is to reach out to us. Like, you know, I mean, I try to have as much as a presence online as I can, and like all of my fellow filmmakers do as well. So feel free to reach out and then just establish that connection. You know, I think that first step is really helpful so that we can get to know each other better. And then also opening spaces like this in Sonora where like Arizona filmmakers can also come to like our space in Sonora, and we can like explore their ideas as well, right? I think that interchange of ideas can be really helpful in just building up, right, that community and making it bigger, more diverse, right? And in the same way with access to more concepts, more ideas, because at the end of the day, also filmmaking is about problem solving, right? There's always obstacles in every step of the process, and you need to find creative solutions to obstacles in order to create a film. And the more creative people that you have on board, the easier it is to seek out these solutions, right? So you should be bouncing out ideas with other filmmakers. I find it part of the creative process for myself. So yeah, I mean, reach out to us, I mean, any of us, and feel free to, talk, establish that connection.
Super.
Okay, super. ¿Alguien que quiera añadir algo a esto? O vámonos ahora a tú, Samantha.
Yes, I think I can add something else too. Yeah, the stories are already there. So yeah, they just need someone to tell them. And sometimes you just have to go there and the story is going to find you and not the other way around. But for example, here in the town that I live, there's this place on which they project films every week, and they also give workshops, and it's also for creating this let's say artistic community. And I think that yes, we do need these spaces in Hermosillo. And yeah, and just basically that, just as Santiago said, come and yeah, ask for networking, I guess.
Okay. ¿Alguien más tiene alguna idea más que añadir para este tema? Carmen.
Los escucho y me da mucha alegría. Yo siento que fíjate que a partir de la pandemia cambiaron muchas cosas, demasiadas creo. Entonces, lo que siento es que de alguna manera la gente en global, la gente en general, o es mi sentir, está preocupada por la inflación y por el kilo de frijol y arroz, que por todo lo demás. Y eso nos incluye como agentes culturales, ¿no? Es decir, nos atañe porque creo que se movieron. Yo hago teatro, entonces se movió el teatro. Entonces la gente, yo me di cuenta que por más que vaya, van los teatreros a vernos, ¿no? Al cine van de repente nuestros amigos con mucho amor, al menos que sea Spider-Man, ¿no? Y esas películas gigantes. Pero no sé de qué manera, no tengo la solución, por supuesto, pero no sé de qué manera, además de hacer comunidad, hacemos, ¿cómo decir? Como enlaces, pero estos enlaces que tiene la gente que es muy aferrada, me atrevo a decir Fernanda Galindo, Denisse o todas estas productoras que hay en Sonora, el festival Terco, que es el de Álamos, Terco porque pueden no tener lana, pero lo van a hacer y se van a romper la madre para hacerlo. Y entonces, incluyendo a tu esposa, ¿no? Incluyendo a Sandra, que está ahí como presentadora, como hostess. Entonces, creo que ahorita, en este momento, dependemos todos los flojos como yo de gente como ustedes, que haga enlaces y que con 5 pesos haga este Zoom, pero se terquee haciendo un festival del desierto y otro festival en Arizona. Y nosotros subirnos al barco de alguna manera como siendo agentes culturales, todo lo que se lleve a Sonora, traerlo a la Ciudad de México, etcétera, ¿no? O sea, o Santiago llevárselo a Phoenix, o Samantha no sé en qué país estés, pero siento que cambió, te digo, siento que cambió mucho, o que está algo, o a lo mejor son mis 35 y mis crisis, y siento que está otro. Entonces, pues yo me subo al barco de ustedes.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. So Carmen was mentioning how everything has just completely changed from the pandemic, that it's completely different now, and that it's so important to have these spaces of festivals, whether we have a budget or not. I think she mentioned 5 pesos to do something on Zoom, whatever we have, if it's the festival in Del Desierto in Hermosillo, or getting, the film festival back in Alamos, that these spaces are really important for, to provide support and community for filmmakers. And yeah, I agree. It's super important. And I was just reflecting on, like, what do people from Arizona think after seeing the films from Sonora? And well, I can say that I heard some great comments today. I even had a phone call from somebody who called me, and they said, we're curious about these Sonoran films. First of all, some people were so surprised that they saw such great talent that they didn't realize was so close. I mean, it's an hour to Nogales, it's 3-4 hours to Hermosillo. We're so close, and there's some kind of, you know, like frequency that we all have to get on. Somebody else called me this morning and they said, I love the style of the films I saw. That Sonora, again, is close, but the style of the film is different. It's just a completely different, you know, energy. So we have a lot in common, but I think it's going to be fun to keep sharing that energy back and forth because it's different styles. So I believe that Santiago, you were going to say something too.
Yes, I would like to make emphasis on the fact that, I mean, if you're a filmmaker from Arizona, like there is an audience for you in Sonora. Like the same way that with all the cultural ties and like so many like of our families also being in Arizona and so on in other spaces spread out, there is an audience for Sonora films in Arizona as well, right? So I think it's sometimes good to like remind us of that come the end of the day, Sonora and Arizona are really close together just by a couple hours, right? And sometimes like the border makes it seem farther apart than they actually are, you know. But that seems like one of them obstacles, right? But once you just start like thinking about it, like you realize how close we really are, you know. So I think that's a really interesting reflection. And yeah, and there's a space for you, there's an audience for you in Sonora, and I definitely, you know, want to hear what those voices have to say, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes, sure. I met some people here in Arizona during the travel in the film festival. And some people told me, oh, I am from Sonora, but I won here in Arizona and I don't know Sonora, no? So I just thinking that what important is to maybe for these people or for the filmmaker to make a story about this, no? It's really hard. I think it's really interesting to recuperate to recover this kind of stories, no? About the origin.
It is like when people mention, it's like, you know what, like that reminds me of like a story I used to hear from my nana when I was young, right? And those, I mean, those kinds of comments, I mean, personally, they feed my heart, right? It just feels me that the fact that a movie can have like that emotional reaction on someone is, I mean, it's part of what makes this beautiful, right? And I mean, growing up as well, like the Sonora audience and all of us filmmakers we're used to seeing films in English. We're used to watching American films. We grew up with like subtitled films for, I mean, most of our youth, right? So I think, yeah, we're not as far away as sometimes it might seem, you know, and sometimes despite all the noise going on in the world, I think it's useful to keep reminding us of that.
Yeah.
Or self that.
And on the other hand, I was thinking that all our stories are universal but local, no, at the same time. So I think that's really, really interesting.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, as humans, you know, we don't exist in a vacuum, right? And I think we feel as humans, and I think we have like a shared experience with a very particular perspective from each individual, you know, which I love seeing. I mean, I love seeing Fernanda's approach and like the animation from Esmeralda as well, and like just some of the way that they approach their like every filmmaker approached their own subject, right? Like with Carmen and the mixture of like feelings and like the jazz feeling that it had behind it, like it's just like feeds into it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we have 15 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, we have 10 or 15 minutes
okay.
still.
So to have some conclusion or something like that, I just want to ask you what you think is what is interesting for you in Arizona to tell a story, to create a film. I don't know what is interesting for you in this place? Maybe a member, maybe a previous experience, I don't know. Just put some ideas in the table. Francisco?
For me, maybe like this, how we are like so similar. Like you can find friends or family just by accident in Tucson or in Phoenix, because we always come and go, or like that's always very I found it very funny. So how the border is incredible connected in so many ways that we don't imagine. So it's very interesting for me.
Perfect. Santiago, ¿ibas a decir algo?
Oh, yeah, I mean, with Arizona, I think Arizona has been like a hub for film, more specifically Tucson as well. It's been one of the powerhouses in film production, with a lot of like the Westerns that were like filmed there, 310 to Yuma. So it has a legacy and a film culture that dates back decades, right? So suddenly, like, I go to Arizona and I see some of the locations and the areas where these films that I watched when I was a kid, and I mean, it hits you, right? It makes it tangible, right? It makes these dreams more of a reality, and and sometimes like taking inspiration of this legacy of filmmaking, right? It's really interesting, especially when it's so close to us in Sonora as well, right? So I mean, that's one of the many different like highlights that I take away from it.
Great, thank you. Samantha, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that Sonora and Arizona, we share the desert, so it would be interesting, like, yeah, to see, I don't know, maybe the point of view of how we interpret the desert in the, yeah, both sides, but how at the same time it united us. Yeah, and also, I don't know, it's I do believe that in every place there are amazing or incredible stories just waiting there. And yeah, I would have to just go there and find something.
Absolutely. Good idea. We need this, maybe we need this time, no? This kind of intercambio,
exchange,
kind of interchange to be in another place, to be in this way, in this side of the border, and to have an experience. And maybe it's a good idea that some filmmakers from Arizona goes to Hermosillo and have a little bit time, or have some experience, no, to go to locations to see the culture. I don't know, no, maybe it's a
yeah,
good.
and yes, because yes, as you said, sometimes you have to go to the place, and then sometimes you're just walking, and then you see something that drags your attention, and then you find a really nice story. So yeah, doing something like that would be really interesting.
Yes, absolutely. Carmen.
Pues creo, como han dicho todos, que compartimos inevitablemente el desierto, lo vaquero, el sur justo de todo Estados Unidos con todo el norte de México. Y cuando la gente migra, inevitablemente arrastra raíces, ¿no? Y hay un asunto como de, aunque no quieras y aunque hayas cambiado de sitio, te llevas a ti mismo, ¿no? Y a toda tu banda atrás y toda tu cultura, y me parece que eso, mientras seamos humanos, no lo vamos a cambiar, y eso es la inquietud de cada artista para hablar del mundo, pero hablamos de nuestras preocupaciones al final, quiénes somos, de dónde venimos, por qué estoy acá, quién es Dios, etcétera, ¿no? Entonces, me gusta mucho que ahorita alguien en Noruega sea mexicano y que alguien en Francia sea mexicano y que esté hablando de lo que tiene que hablar, son historias del pueblo, de la tierra, de las nanas, que no les decimos abuelas sino nana, y eso inevitablemente hará que cada persona con inquietudes como Samantha haga cine y cuente una historia, como toda la vida se ha hecho, ¿no? Desde los griegos, la Biblia está llena de historias preciosas que hablan exactamente de lo mismo. ¿Quiénes somos?
Sí, increíble, Carmen. Ahí
Bien.
tenemos un comentario por aquí que lo voy a leer, ¿no? Para quienes están por ahí con nosotros.
Porque en Tucson está la estatua de Pancho Villa, sería una buena historia. So there's a comment about a statue of Pancho Villa in Tucson, and that there could be a good history to go with this. I'm not familiar with this Pancho Villa statue in Tucson. I know that Pancho Villa did cross the border once at Columbus, New Mexico, and I believe that right here across the border from Agua Prieta, there's a hotel that he supposedly rode his horse into. I don't know why there's a statue in Tucson. Does anybody know anything about the Pancho Villa statue in Tucson?
Okay, that's a good point.
Good history there. And speaking of Pancho Villa, one of the documentaries that unfortunately we didn't take this year was a story of how there was a celebration of Pancho Villa when he stormed over into the town of New Mexico. And I think it had already screened in Tucson, but it's just another example of how there's these shared traditions. And unfortunately, the border has built up, to the point where we don't play volleyball across the border, but there's still kids who are crossing to go to school. There's still, these celebrations and traditions back and forth across the border. And I think that what we're seeing opening up with this panel and with CINE Sonora and these conversations is opportunities to see beyond the border, or to at least see beyond the border wall. And I think that this is very special. I hope that this becomes a tradition with CINE Sonora every year, that we have you guys back, of course, and that we keep expanding and finding, I'm hearing an invitation from Sonora for filmmakers to come to Sonora. So I hope we'll find that common space, whether it's the festival in El Desierto and Hermosillo, or ways, spaces that we can bring our students down. And I know that, like, from our FITS visit, our festival in the school visit with Fernanda, I know that there's 12 kids in that class that we went to the high school who would probably love to go to Hermosillo or to Nogales, and one of these places for a film shoot or a visit. And thank you, whoever just put a note there, that beautifully done. Thank you for all your time and expertise today. That's a comment that just came in on the side. También quiero compartir que si alguien todavía está aquí en Tucson, que vamos a tener una cena especial. Si gustan pasar aquí al patio de nosotros, vivimos aquí en Helen Street, en Tucson, y Santiago, Francisco, a lo mejor si todavía están aquí, queremos celebrar juntos con ustedes. Lástima que los otros no están aquí con nosotros, pero en espíritu siempre.
Sí. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. I want to take a picture of us. What do you think? Okay, a screenshot, no? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Okay, Santiago and Francisco, check your emails. I sent you more information. Estamos en contacto. Thank you for helping set this up.
Thank you. Thank you for the Arizona International Film Festival. Thank you. And congratulations for your work.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving us.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.